before we get started, I have a, you guys know we're starting the movie day, matinee, in January on the third Sunday. So I put together a little preview of the series that we're going to do, so you guys get the first look at it. So, Callie, do you know how to turn the lights off over there? Just so you can see a little bit better. All right, you ready?
Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things unseen. I'm leaving this record because I made a promise to my friend Josh McManus. This is the story of one good man with God as his strength. And his story is far from over.
I've been called by God. I've been chosen, but I don't know why. Everyone always talks about God's plan. No one ever asks, who's he planning for?
What if he's planning for this? The end times.
Josh McManus, you're a hard man to find. I'm gonna need your help.
You know what they did to me? I was part of an experiment. Mind control. They turned us into weapons.
The devil is here. I need the one man on earth that can take him down.
The old world has fallen. In its place, a new power rises. We will build a new order.
This is how it starts. This is how the Antichrist takes control of the earth.
Focus only on God's plan. Feel it arranging the world like a puzzle being solved.
I feel like I'm right where God wants me to be.
Amen, brother.
I'm going in there. I'm getting Sarah the rest out no matter what.
I don't know why God touched you with his power, but I know that you're going to use it for good.
Take every soul, everything he loves. That's not gonna happen. Over 2,000 years, arranging events for such a time as this.
All right, that's it. Can you get the lights again?
That's good.
It's three of them. It's a trilogy, in case you didn't catch that. All right, so I'm going to start for this lesson. It's going to be different, and I don't think it'll be that long. We'll see. Everything's different today. But I'm starting with part 2 of the Bible project on Exodus, which covers everything that we're for us in our lesson this week. So here we go.
The book of Exodus. In the first video, we explored chapters 1 through 18, which tell the foundational story of how God rescued the enslaved Israelites by confronting and defeating Pharaoh, while offering a way of escape through the blood of the Passover lamb. God then delivered his people by bringing them through the waters of the sea and then into the wilderness, where, surprisingly, they grumbled and complained. Now, the second half of the book of Exodus opens as Moses leads Israel to the foot of Mount Sinai, where God invites the nation of Israel to enter into a covenant relationship. And here we reach another key moment in the biblical storyline, because this is picking up and developing God's promise to Abraham. So remember, from the book of Genesis, God promised that through Abraham's family, somehow he would restore his blessing to all of the nations. And here we find out more. God says that if Israel obeys the terms of the covenant, they will be so shaped by God's laws and teaching and justice that they will become a kingdom of priests, which means that they will become God's representatives and show all of the other nations what God is truly like. Now, the people of Israel eagerly accept the offer, and so God's presence appears right on the top of Mount Sinai in the form of cloud and lightning and thunder. And Moses goes up as their representative, and God opens with the basic terms of the covenant, the famous 10 Commandments. These are like the basic terms of the agreement, how the Israelites and God are going to relate to each other. And then after this come another collection of commands which fill out the first 10 in more detail. There are laws about Israel's worship, about social justice, how they are to live together, all shaping Israel into a nation of justice and generosity that's different from the other nations. So Moses writes down all of these laws, and he brings them down to the people who, again, eagerly agree to enter into this covenant with God. And once they do so, God takes the relationship forward another step. He tells Moses that he wants his holy and divine and good presence to come and dwell right in the midst of Israel, which develops another aspect of God's covenant promises. So remember, after humanity's rebellion in the garden, it was access to God's presence that was lost. But now it's through the family of Abraham that God's presence is becoming once again accessible through this covenant relationship, and first with Israel, and then somehow one day to all nations. So what follows are 7 chapters of detailed architectural blueprints about this sacred tent called the tabernacle. There's an outer courtyard with an altar, and then in the center there's a tent that has an outer room and then an inner room. And then inside the inner room, which is called the most holy space, is a golden box called the Ark of the Covenant. And there's angelic creatures over the top of it. It's the hot spot of God's presence. Now there's lots of detail in these chapters, and it's important to know that every piece has some kind of symbolic value. All of the flowers, the angels, the gold, and the jewels, it all echoes back to the Garden of Eden, the place where God and humans lived together in intimacy. And so the tabernacle is like a portable Eden, so to speak. It's the place where God and Israel can live together in peace. At least in theory, because right here something goes really, really wrong. Israel breaks the covenant. As Moses is up on the mountain receiving the blueprints for the tabernacle, down below at the camp, the Israelites, they're losing patience. And so they ask Moses' brother Aaron to make for them a golden calf idol so they can worship it as the God who saved them out of slavery in Egypt. Now God's presence, it's right there on top of the mountain. They can see it. But here they are below, breaking the first 2 commands of the covenant they just agreed to. No other gods and no idols. Now what follows is really important. God knows what's happening down below. And so he first invites Moses into his own anger and pain. And he tells Moses what he wants to do, just to wipe Israel out. But Moses intercedes by appealing to God's character. He says, first of all, destroying Israel would be going back on your covenant promises to Abraham. And then Moses appeals to God's reputation among the nations. What would they think if they see you destroying your own people? And so God accepts Moses' intercession, and he relents. And while he does bring his judgment on those who instigated the idolatry, he forgives the nation as a whole and promises to renew his covenant. And it's right here, at this point in the story, that God, for the first time, describes his own character to Moses. He says, the Lord is merciful, he's gracious, he's slow to anger, abounding in covenant faithfulness. He forgives sin, but he will not leave the wicked unpunished. So we have this tension. God is full of mercy, but also he must deal with evil if he claims to be good. And above all, God is faithful to his promises, even though it means, he knows, he's committing himself to a people who are utterly faithless. And so after renewing the covenant with Israel, God commissions Moses to go ahead and build the tabernacle. And once again, we get 5 long chapters describing in detail the construction of the tabernacle. And it all comes together in the final chapter where the tabernacle's finished. God's glorious divine presence comes and hovers over the tent, and our hopes are high. And so Moses, he goes right up to enter into the tent, and he can't. He actually can't go in, and that's how the book ends. It's really surprising, but not really if you think about it. You can see now how much Israel's sin has damaged the relationship with God in more ways than you realize. So the book opened, remember, with Pharaoh's evil threatening Israel and threatening God's covenant promise. But now, as the book ends, Israel has become its own worst enemy. It's their sin that's threatening the future of the covenant. And so the question as the book closes is, how is God going to reconcile this conflict between his holiness and his goodness and his presence with the sinful corruption of his own covenant people? The solution to that problem is what the next book is about. But for now, that's the book of Exodus.
So I'll just point out 2 things out of that that hit me. Is they just committed to God, and then they go make Moses still on the mountain talking to God, and then they yeah, thank you, Mary.
I can't get over what possessed Aaron to go along with it.
Peer pressure, the people, the ones that wanted to have
Yeah,
it.
what he answered to Moses, you know how stiff-necked they can be.
Yeah. And then the other part is how Moses just talks to God and even says, "Hey, you can't do that. If you do that,
He promised.
yeah, you made a promise. People are going to think you ain't the God you said you are." That's pretty bold.
Every now and then I look up and say, you promised.
Yeah, well, he wants us to remind him of his promise. But when you do that, just be prepared. He's going to say, "Well, and you said."
I understand.
You promised. I keep mine. What about you? Was there anything else in the study that you guys wanted to talk about? Because I'm not going to talk about a lot of it. I do have some things I do want to hit on, yes.
When you read closely about the social justice and the social laws,
Yeah.
some of them are here today, and some of them are, like, I like the one where you can't charge interest.
Yeah.
And today they do charge interest.
Yes.
say.
Okay, so that's a very good point. Now, here's what we got to remember. God's giving these laws to his people who are all together. There is no influence from other countries. You're not living in another country. It's all God's people. So that is how God's people who all live together have to do justice and everything. But when you mix in the world and all the other stuff, it's impossible for you to do that at this point. Because now you're living underneath Caesar or underneath the world system. And you got to kind of go, even though you got to live in the world in their system without really being in their system, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
For example, later we're going to find out that it says that if you have a child who's unruly, you stone them to death.
Well, honor thy mother and father, you put to death if you don't. What
Yes.
do the kids be today?
But see, back then, again, remember, they were all living together. They had their own judicial system. They had it all set up. So they could do it that way. But now that you're in a whole different ballpark, you can't do that. For example, in America, we have certain laws, but you go in another country, it's different. So if you're in another country and you're trying to do America's laws, you're going to get in trouble. For example, there are states that allow you to smoke weed in America, legally. You can smoke weed for recreational. But you go over to some other country and you smoke weed, you're in prison for a long time. Maybe even the death penalty.
There's hemorrhagic.
So again, it's what we're learning is that we have a time and a people, and we have to learn how to take those principles and those laws and the culture and the setup and everything. How do we apply that to us today? Because we can't apply it because we're not all together. We're all over the world right now.
Well, I can apply it today when if I loan money, I don't try. If I loan money to a friend.
To your
my friend.
believers, yes.
Yeah,
But it actually says it's okay to charge interest to the unbeliever.
But
that breaks the law, though.
No, it doesn't. No.
Breaks the law.
No, it doesn't. Because the law says you don't charge interest to God's people. But to people that aren't God's people, you can charge interest.
But one day we will all be one unity. So
But-
I try to work towards.
But we're not.
I know, but some.
People that are not God's are treated,
But isn't
we
the
live
right
differently.
thing to do
That's what the Bible says.
to charge interest to others?
Yes, that's what the Bible says. Those that's not in the world, you can do that. So yes, it is true. So here's the thing. When we start questioning God's law and his principle, we're saying our way's smarter than his way. We don't think he's fair. Is he fair or not? Is he just or not?
now, is that a command, or does he just say you can charge interest? Does he say you have to charge interest to somebody?
No, he doesn't
So
say you
if
have
you chose
to.
not to,
You
then-
do have to, no.
But if I.
But if you do, then it's not.
But if
wrong.
if I don't charge interest, it's not sin.
No.
No, not at all.
That's what I mean.
But it's okay to charge
That
interest
kind
because
of-
God
that
says you can.
contradicts the law that you give to others and help others out.
Yes.
You know, if-
But yet, again, when you're talking about laws, there's laws specifically to Israel, specifically to God's people. Then there's laws on how you treat other people and how you do that. And there's also a progression in God's law. So remember that. Don't get confused with it.
don't overanalyze it.
Well, I would say that just for sure.
And I tend to do that. Thank you, Pastor.
Okay, so I have this other video. It's about lessons from Exodus. Now, it goes pretty quick. It's going to have a bunch of lessons that you can learn. Some of them kind of sound similar, but there is a point. It's going to take me to a point that I want to get to. So if you want to take some notes, you can, but if not, just pay attention. And there's one thing. Let's see how well you pay attention. There's one thing in there that is totally, it's right, but it ain't right. And we'll see if you can catch it.
Welcome to our journey through the book of Exodus. Let's explore the key life lessons that shape the Israelites' journey from slavery to freedom, from the mighty hand of God that delivered them to the divine presence that guided them. We'll witness the birth of a nation and the forging of a sacred covenant. Join me as we delve into the heart of Exodus and discover the profound impact this ancient story still has on our lives today. A vast desert, a weary people, a mountain of God. Lesson 1, trust in God's timing. On tablets of stone, God's law, a covenant is sealed. Lesson 2, obedience to God's commandments. The earth trembles, fear and awe before the divine. Lesson 3, the importance of reverence and awe for God. Moses receives more laws, a blueprint for life, justice and mercy intertwined. Lesson 4, the value of laws and justice. Laws about slaves, even in bondage, dignity preserved, a glimmer of hope. Lesson 5, treat others with dignity and respect. Laws about personal injury, an eye for an eye, yet compassion urged, a delicate balance. Lesson 6, balance justice with compassion. Laws about theft, what was taken must be restored, a foundation of trust. Lesson 7, the importance of restitution and trust. Laws about crop protection, the land, a sacred gift to be nurtured, never exploited. Lesson 8, stewardship of the environment. Laws about personal property. Respect for what is owned, a thread in the social fabric. Lesson 9, respect for personal property. Laws about seduction, protecting the vulnerable, upholding honor, a moral compass. Lesson 10, protect the vulnerable and uphold honor. Capital offenses, the weight of life, the gravity of sin, consequences profound. Lesson 11, the gravity of sin and its consequences. Laws protecting the vulnerable, widows, orphans, strangers embraced by compassion's embrace. Lesson 12, show compassion to the vulnerable. Respect for God, reverence and awe, the foundation of faith, a sacred duty. Lesson 13, maintain reverence and awe for God. Laws about honesty and justice, truth and fairness, pillars of society, a righteous path. Lesson 14, uphold honesty and justice. Yahweh's Sabbaths and feasts, time for rest, time for celebration, a rhythm to life. Lesson 15, the importance of rest and celebration. Promises and warnings, blessings for obedience, consequences for straying, a fateful choice. Lesson 16, the consequences of obedience and disobedience. The covenant ceremony, an oath is sworn, a bond is forged, destiny awaits. Lesson 17, the significance of covenants. Offerings to build the tabernacle, gifts of gold and silver, a testament to devotion, a sacred space. Lesson 18, the importance of giving and devotion. The tabernacle, a dwelling place for God amidst his people, a sacred presence. Lesson 19, the significance of sacred spaces. The priestly garments, robes of honor, symbols of service set apart for God. Lesson 20, the importance of service and dedication. Instructions about consecration. Chosen for a purpose, set apart as holy, a sacred calling. Lesson 21, the significance of consecration. Inspired hands and hearts, guided by the divine, a masterpiece unfolds. Lesson 22, the value of skilled work and divine guidance. Temptation, idolatry, a betrayal of trust, a test of faith. Lesson 23, the dangers of idolatry and temptation. Seeking forgiveness, a plea for mercy, a heart laid bare. Lesson 24, the importance of seeking forgiveness. Yahweh's glory, a glimpse of the divine, radiant and awe-inspiring, a moment etched in time. Lesson 25, the awe-inspiring nature of God's glory. Covenant obligations, a reminder of promises made, a call to faithfulness and enduring bond. Lesson 26, the importance of faithfulness to covenants. Moses' face shines, transformed by encounter, reflecting God's glory, a beacon of hope. Lesson 27, the transformative power of encountering God. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the book of Exodus. We hope this overview has provided you with a deeper understanding of the life lessons, events, and divine encounters that shaped the Israelites' path to freedom. The story of Exodus is not just ancient history, it's a timeless testament to the power of faith, the importance of justice, and the enduring nature of God's covenant with humanity. May its lessons continue to inspire and guide us on our own journeys of faith and freedom.
Okay. First of all, you ever went to the place and they have that brown thing, coffee thing or something? You have to look for the little man in the paper and you read it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was doing with you on this. You had to see if you could see the little thing that was, it was right, but it wasn't right. Did anybody catch it? It was quick. It would have been hard to see
I don't
it.
think I didn't see it.
Okay.
Are you gonna tell us?
Yeah. So, when it showed the 10 Commandments, it was the Catholic 10 Commandments. And if you look at the Catholic 10 Commandments, see number 3? What's it say? Commandment number 3 on the left. Remember to keep holy the Sabbath day. So the third commandment is really the fourth commandment. And the reason it's the third commandment is because they took out the second commandment, which says, you shall make no idols. The reason they take that out is because they got idols everywhere. They literally took it out of the, and then they split number 9 and 10, number 10 into 2.
When did they do that? Because I was.
That's been like that for, you go look it up.
I never got to look.
I knew the third commandment as the images. I was taught that as a kid.
You go look it up.
No, I believe you. I don't remember being taught that.
Yeah,
I would have never known.
yeah.
You know, when they took it out.
It's been a long time.
You remember the third, it's been what?
I remember the third being the one about no making no images.
Is that what they gave
But
you?
I was taught that.
So how can you teach that you should make no images and have no idols,
And then
have all those idols? How can you teach that and then do it?
Well, the main thing my friends and I, as a kid, used to argue about is the fact that we had idols, and the 10 Commandments said. I said, but the church says we can't.
Yeah, but their 10 Commandments doesn't. The Bible's 10 Commandments does. But when you go to the Catechism and you read the Catechism, it doesn't have that in there. It's the 10 Commandments like that. The Catechism is what they go by.
I remember memorizing them for confirmation. When I was
Yes.
13.
Okay, I'll challenge you this since you're arguing with me about it. Go online and put the Catholics' 10 Commandments and you'll see it.
I'm gonna put the year for the year in case it was changed.
No, it's been changed a long time.
I'm talking about early 60s.
No, I'm way before that. For example, they
I
even
believe
now
what
when
you're
you
saying,
go
but I like
to
to-
it, now when you go to it, they say keep the Sabbath holy, and what that means is keeping Sunday holy. They literally say that. And Constantine, way back then, is when they started changing all that stuff. So anyway, that's just something interesting.
It doesn't say it there.
Doesn't say what there.
Keep the Sunday holy. It says keep
No, because those are just abbreviations of what the commandments are.
I hear you. I believe you,
You just want to argue.
I'm shocked. Because I
Okay.
don't
I'm
remember-
shocked that you didn't know that,
I
being that you
don't
was into
remember-
the Catholic
I don't
Catholicism.
remember that way. I always thought the 10 Commandments that I had from as a kid is on my wall.
Yes,
And
because
it-
you don't have the Catholic one. Anyway, I don't want to stay there, but you can look it up for
I
yourself.
hear you. I'm just astonished. That's all. That's why my mouth is still running.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense to me that they
I'm
would.
not arguing with you.
It makes sense to me that they would take out number 2
I
because
just
they
don't
are
like it when
nothing.
you're right.
They're nothing but idols. That's everything they do in there.
That's
is
all we
worshiping
had.
idols.
That's all we had.
That
We
was-
even worshipped idols called the saints.
Yeah.
And they canonized people that I don't know if they should have been canonized.
So, what did you guys learn out of the lessons this week that you want to share?
I learned I don't know nothing again.
Huh?
I learned I don't know nothing again.
Oh my gosh, that happens all the time I read the Bible.
But this is just overwhelming.
Well, for me, in chapter 20,
Yeah.
where the people, when, up on the mountain, when you heard the thunder, the lightning, and all of that, and the people were so afraid of that,
Yeah.
that they ran. But the trumpet sound
Yeah.
was amazing, because in all of that, there was the trumpet sound, so it came from heaven.
Yeah.
And so the people were so afraid that they said, we don't want to talk to him. Moses, you do it. So how does that apply in our lives?
Okay, so when you were saying that, here's kind of what I get. So, the people were so afraid of God that they wanted Moses to go talk to him for them. Today, I think we still have people who don't really want to approach God. They want to have a person tell them, have an in-between person between them and God to tell them what God is saying instead of seeking Him first. Because look, when you really seek God and you get in His presence, there's a big difference than just having a man tell you something. Big difference. Because now you're really held accountable by the Spirit, and when you get into God's presence and you really. But if you're just having a man telling you stuff and that's all you're going to, matter of fact, people can go into a big congregation, listen to what the guy says, and leave and never have any accountability, never have conviction of sin or nothing. Because it takes that being in God's presence to win that awe and that inspiring. That's kind of what I got out of it.
So that brings me to my next question. Well, not question, but in Exodus chapter 34, where Moses, he says, and it came to pass when Moses came down from the mount with the 2 tablets of testimony in Moses' hand, when he came down from the mount, that Moses was not, that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. So being in God's presence, just like you said, it should change us.
Yes.
We should be not completely changed, but there should be a change in us.
Yeah, when you look in the mirror, you see him, not you.
But how did the people respond to him being his face being
They
shined?
did, again, they didn't want to.
Yeah.
So let's bring that to today.
Yeah.
So I'll bring it today. People who are truly serving God, who are truly believers and trying to follow His ways and do it right, they will show the character of God, and people that don't know God
Right. Yeah.
will shy away from that. We have people in our own family that don't want to be around us because light and darkness cannot fellowship. And it literally, without even saying anything, the light shines on them and they feel that I don't want to be around that. That's bringing it home. You got a question?
No, I was just saying I never thought of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because there's people that completely disown me
Yeah.
in my family.
Yeah. Light and darkness can't fellowship together. Anybody else got anything? Okay, so the one thing.
You go fast. You got the first.
Oh, okay, well. Just,
Or I'm slow. Maybe it's a
Yeah, which part? There was a lot. But like one thing on my heart was about, the directions for the different special things that were holy to the Lord, the Ark of the Covenant, everything. It's like,
detailed,
were that
Huh?
And the reality for us, it's like they're always.
That's my, reminder to Frey, sorry.
I don't know, it just, my heart is like, that's us,
We're the temple.
We're the temple,
Yeah.
we're carrying that holy presence, and who am I to not get myself together, because we represent.
Yes,
We
very,
represent.
very
Who
good.
am I representing?
Yeah, and it's very detailed and constantly
We carry His
cleansing and everything.
presence. It's,
Sometimes you can just feel it.
Yeah.
and our heart is, talked about altars and stuff, and I was like,
So-
our heart is where our altar, my altar.
Yeah,
And
that's
needs
true.
to be, you know, it's what's on my heart. Taken down, it's been weeks of the Lord's to still take down these altars, they're altars in your heart.
Yeah.
Love to see different junk and just makes you go, so I'm gonna keep going.
I would say probably most believers have failed, not all, but probably most, have failed. I know I have, about remembering the scripture tells us that our bodies are the temple. So what I mean by that, how do you bring it home? Well, because sometimes we, if this is the temple, that's God's presence, that's where He's dwelling at. How many things have we said and done and looked at and did without even thinking? God's with us every single second of life, ever since we've given our life to Him. He's dwelling with us. So when we're speaking things out of our mouth, when we're looking at things we shouldn't look at, when we're listening to things we shouldn't hear, when we're going places we shouldn't be, we're taking Yeshua right with us. And He's there watching and listening. We have failed miserably a lot of times with that. When we haven't been loving, when we haven't been forgiving, when we've held resentment or bitterness. He's there during all that. Which brings me back to this. He says, I'm going to fulfill my covenant, even though I know they're a bunch of messed up people, and they're going to constantly be sinning and going against me. I'm going to make sure. And He says to us, the encouragement is, I will finish what I've completed, what I've started in you. I will finish it. What I've started, I will complete it. That's part of the new covenant. I will give you a new heart, a new spirit, and I will put my laws in your hearts and your minds and cause you to walk in them. He's going to do it. We just need to partner up. Now the key is, do we want to make it harder on ourselves? By constantly fighting Him and bucking the system? Or do we want to go along with Him? I'd say we want to go along with Him, but sometimes our action says, no, I got this. I got this one, God. I can handle this one. I got it. Don't need you on this one.
Maybe I learned it the right way when I started studying with Zola. And I don't remember being taught wrong.
Yeah. Could be, I don't know. Okay, here's one thing that I want us to focus on, we're going to talk about, and it's rest. And before we talk about it, I have one more video to show, it's a quick one, about rest. And then we're going to talk about, I have some scriptures and we're going to go over this, but it's going to be more than just rest, but we're going to start with rest.
In a world that never sleeps, finding true rest can feel like an impossible dream. We are bombarded with demands and expectations. Our minds race with endless to-do lists. Our bodies crave a moment of peace. Yet rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. The Bible speaks of rest as a gift from Yahweh God, a state of wholeness for our body, mind, and spirit. What does it mean to truly rest? It's not simply sleeping in on the weekends or taking a vacation. True rest runs deeper. It's about finding peace in the midst of chaos. It's about silencing the inner voices of worry and fear. And it's about connecting with Yahweh God on a deeper level. The Bible tells us that Yahweh God Himself rested on the seventh day of creation. This wasn't because He was tired. Yahweh God doesn't get tired. He rested to show us the importance of setting aside time for rejuvenation and reflection. When we embrace rest, we acknowledge our limits and Yahweh God's limitless power. The most concrete example of rest in the Bible is the Sabbath. In the Ten Commandments, Yahweh God commands us to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. Exodus 20, verse 8. This wasn't meant to be a burden, but a blessing. The Sabbath is a day set aside for rest and worship, a time to step away from the busyness of life and reconnect with Yahweh God and loved ones. Sadly, the Sabbath is often neglected in our fast-paced world. We fill our weekends with errands, work, and social obligations, leaving little time for true rest. But when we choose to honor the Sabbath, we discover its transformative power. Just imagine, a day with no work emails, no chores, no pressure to be productive. Instead, picture spending time in nature, enjoying a delicious meal with loved ones, or simply curling up with a good book. The Sabbath is a day to delight in Yahweh God's goodness and to allow our bodies and souls to be refreshed. While physical rest is important, true rest goes beyond the physical. It's about finding peace and contentment in our relationship with Yahweh God. Yeshua, who is called Jesus in English, invites us, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11, verse 28. How do we find this spiritual rest? Through prayer, meditation, and immersing ourselves in Yahweh God's Word. These practices quiet our anxious thoughts and draw us closer to the source of all peace. When we spend time in Yahweh God's presence, we are filled with His love, grace, and strength. Imagine a quiet place where you can be alone with your thoughts and with Yahweh God. As you pray, release your worries and fears to Him. As you meditate on Scripture, let Yahweh God's truths wash over you. In these moments of stillness and surrender, you will discover a peace that surpasses all understanding. In today's fast-paced world, finding rest can feel like an uphill battle, but even small changes can make a big difference. Here are a few practical ways to cultivate rest in your daily life. Establish boundaries. Learn to say no to extra commitments and prioritize rest. Unplug from technology. Take breaks from screens and social media to quiet your mind. Spend time in nature. Connect with God's creation through walks in the park or hikes in the woods. Practice gratitude. Focus on the good things in your life and thank Yahweh God for His blessings. Find fellowship with others for a Sabbath service. Read God's Word and share a meal. Remember, rest is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. It's an act of obedience to Yahweh God and an investment in our well-being. When we make rest a priority, we are better equipped to handle life's challenges and to live out our God-given purpose with joy and passion.
All right, so how can we make sure we get physical and spiritual rest? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. What were some of the ideas in the video? Yes? Yeah, chilling out, taking a nice little walk.
Social media break.
Turn off every entertainment.
Yeah, take a break from those computer screens and tablet screens and cell phone screens.
So God was getting on me about that, getting away from some of the I think I've been missing on the Sabbath some things. He's constantly refining us. Because why is it so hard for us to get away from technology on Sabbath? Callie, do you know why?
Well, you and I talked about this morning a little bit about some things we can do to keep us from.
So here's the one I want to hit on.
I'm not allowed to use my computer on Sabbath.
Okay, that's good.
I
I use mine for the lesson.
No, you have to. Yeah, that's the way it is today. But I was just saying, for myself, I've got to
that's
put
good.
restrictions on it because what was happening, I was staying up so late in the morning, so late, playing,
Yeah.
that I would be nothing in the morning and wake up at 11 instead of 9 or 8.
That goes right along with what I'm getting ready to talk about. Sometimes I think we miss the importance of physical rest. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit. So, the need for sleep in the Bible. Psalms 121:4. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. So sleep reveals that we are creatures. We were created and not the Creator. Sleep reminds us of our limitations and the need to depend upon God for our very own existence. This should humble us, and it should make us very grateful. God don't have to sleep. He don't even need rest. He's all powerful. He don't get tired. But when God became a man in person, Yeshua, Messiah, he experienced human limitations, including he needed rest. John 4:6. Being wearied from his journey, he sat by the well. There was one point where he must have been really fatigued because he was asleep in the bottom of a boat. In Matthew 8:24, and suddenly a great tempest arose on the sea, so the boat was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. Mark 6:31, come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while. There had to be a lot of going and coming and a lot of stuff that Yeshua and the disciples were doing, and sometimes they may not even had time to even eat. They were so busy sometimes, or prepare for eating. Sometimes they were busy. And they had to sleep, though. They had to get their rest. So Yeshua showed them and taught them about making sure they got rest. That's it. Isn't that what the Bible teaches us? And we forget that we should rest, that we should relax at times, that we need it in our lives. We need rest. We get weak. Our bodies require sleep to function properly, to be recharged, to be refreshed. Sleep allows our minds to rest so that we can think clearly when we wake up. I thought it very interesting that Mary in our prayer today came from Lamentations. Was it chapter 3? I think so. Yeah, well, looky here. The Lord's mercies are new every morning. This is implying that after a good night's sleep, we can pray for help and strength for the day. Sleep is a gift from God. It's like God's giving you a gift. We say, I don't want it. No, I don't. No, you keep it. I don't want it. Now, if God said, hey, here's $1 million, I guarantee you wouldn't go, no, I don't want it. That's okay. I don't want it. But he's given us the opportunity to sleep. I mean, oh, no, I don't want it. Most of us. I don't want it. No, I don't want it.
Scientifically, too, they say that when you're sleeping and you get the right sleep, your body's healing itself. And when you get into that deep sleep, that's when your body starts repairing itself naturally like that.
Maybe, maybe some of us aren't being very wise, not being very wise getting to sleep, or maybe we're not making it enough of a priority. And I think that's what God has been saying to me. I mean, isn't this the main part of Sabbath is rest? Let's look at a few more verses. Leviticus 26:6, I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none will make you afraid. Proverbs 3:24, when you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, you will lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. Psalms 4:8, I will both lie down in peace and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell safely. Now, the Bible also mentions the inability to sleep in a negative way. It's often associated with fear, guilt, guilty conscience. Psalm 6:6, I am weary with my groaning. All night I make my bed swim. I drench my couch with my tears. I make my bed swim. I know the four corners of the bed. I know each side of the bed. I know I'm not talking to anybody in here. Psalms. Why are you laughing so much louder, Mary? Psalm 77:4. You hold my eyelids open. I'm so troubled that I cannot speak. Burst the toothpicks. Keep my eyes open. Proverbs 4:16. For they do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone
That was the one I was looking for, yeah, that one right there. Evil.
The consequences of inadequate sleep. Sleep is often neglected in our busy schedule. Some of us may even think, well, sleep's just a luxury. It's just, you know, I think the benefit of a few more hours awake outweigh the negative consequences. I can get 2 more hours, I can get this done, that done, I can do this, I can get so much done. It don't matter if I get that sleep or not.
You get all-nighters and study, it didn't help a bit.
So she mentioned scientists, yes. Man, I was looking this up, and they really have just really started really getting into this on the sleep studies and stuff. But they agree the more sleep you get, the healthier and the better your body can be. The average amount of sleep, what the science is saying now, is that you need 7 to 8 hours per night. And it is as important as health and well-being as nutrition and exercise. So your sleep is just as important whether you're eating and whether you're exercising properly. While getting enough sleep does not guarantee good health, it does help vital functions. A lot of things happen. Tissue gets repaired, muscle growth, all kinds of things. Protein, all that kind of stuff. Synthesis, whatever that is. I don't even know what protein synthesis is. I guess that means it's helping your body repair itself and everything, yeah.
Has the synergy, it's working together.
So, when you get enough sleep, we not only feel better, but we are increasing the likelihood of living a healthier life, more productive lives. When we don't get enough sleep, there's a lot of negative consequences. Matter of fact, look at this one. Missing as little as 1.5 hours can impact how you feel, causing short-term problems like lack of alertness, memory problems, moodiness, agitation, and the inability or willingness to participate in normal daily activities. That's just an hour and a half. So if you're supposed to get 7 to 8 hours, if you're only getting 5 hours, or 5.5, as Mary's watch would say, you're putting yourself up. You're not going to be as alert. You're going to have some memory problems. You're probably going to be moody. Tim's probably going to aggravate you. You're going to have an inability or an unwillingness to participate in normal activities. I don't feel like it. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. Yeah.
Mary, what the minimum hours they say you need?
7 to 8.
In the military?
Oh, in the military.
No. You forgot?
As much as you can get, I guess.
Me too. You get a lesson. No, in the military, no, you get, they tell you got a certain amount of hours that sleep.
I know you get up early.
Yeah,
I don't think there's.
I know you get up.
There's some
I don't think they preach you sleep.
No, that's what I'm saying, man.
It's a limited amount of sleep.
Yeah.
So there's a famous doctor, and I don't know who he is, called Fulberry Schaefer. Maybe you medical people might know. Anyway, he said everything from cardiovascular system to your immune system feels the impact of just an hour and a half
Oh, yeah, immune system.
less.
How about that?
Now I got some of this information that I'm sharing now from a good article. It's from the clevelandclinic.org. I have it. I'm going to post it because I want you guys to use it because I'm going to use it. But I want to tell you just a few more things. I'll post it later on the GroupMe so you guys will have it. It goes on to tell that many things that happen from the lack of sleep, but here's just a few of them. A weakened immune system, changes in your appearance, and weight gain. Now this one, I looked at it and went, oh, okay. Because, that's something I've been dealing with for a while. On a weight gain, even in short term, if you just get a couple of bad nights sleep, can make you feel hungrier, especially for sweets and snacks.
Yeah, but you-
Just a couple of nights.
You're looking for energy when you get bored.
Yeah, I don't think it applies to everyone, but yeah, in some cases, yes.
Yeah.
So
Everything's a numbers game.
it says that the lack of sleep makes it harder to lose weight. People that got more rest was able to lose weight better. People that don't get the rest, it's harder to lose weight. That could be some of the issues some of us are having. We're not getting enough sleep. The article also went on to say that you have higher stress levels, increased risk of cardiovascular disease, thyroid, and other hormonal issues. The bottom line is it can cause a lot of issues if we don't get a lot of rest. One last thing I want to share in the article. It said if you eat well and exercise regularly, but don't get at least 7 hours of sleep every night, you're undermining all your other efforts. So all that workout you're doing, all that eating properly, if you're not getting the proper sleep, it's pretty much saying you're doing all that for nothing. So you might as well just go ahead and eat crazies too.
It reminds me of even just the simplicity of how the Lord planned it. So
Yes.
the sun goes down, and the sun comes up later. There's that season of it's dark.
Yeah.
Sleep, basically. I mean, maybe not 12 hours, but maybe you put it that way. I don't know. Sun goes down. What are you supposed to do?
And the article goes on and said we're not being dramatic about this. Sleep isn't a luxury; it's a necessity. Adults need 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night, not just once in a while. And now they give you 3 steps on how to get better sleep. So we need to know how to do it. Shift your bedtime back. Start going to bed just 15 to 20 minutes earlier. Then after a couple of days, add another 20. You got to get yourself in the habit to do it earlier. Like if I tell people this, if you have a problem being late, set your clocks back 15 minutes early, 20 minutes early. But here's the problem. You know what most people do? Oh, I set the clock back 20 minutes. I still got more time. And you just defeated your own purpose.
That's true.
Just like the person that's exercising and eating right and not getting sleep. Well, you're just messing up that whole thing anyway.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you didn't get enough sleep either. Just because you yawn.
Maybe you didn't have enough oxygen in your brain.
Before you read yours, I will say myself personally, because I'm struggling. It's not that I can't sleep, it's that my brain, and when I get home at night, I'm like,
I'm sure everybody struggles.
it's called the check box. I don't know, activities, and I stay up, and I push it until like 11 or 12, and then I gotta hurry and go to sleep now, because I don't get up at 5. So, but when I do, and I miss sleep, which is more often than not, I'm not alert, and I'm hazard alert This last 2 weeks.
Well, they said that was one of the things
I had
too.
fallen asleep and swerved like a drunk. I'm surprised I didn't get pulled over multiple times because I've been like.
So lately, I've been catching myself. I think I told you this. I don't know. Recently, you might be able to tell me when I said. I said, "Man, I am so tired, but my brain just is."
We call that the chatterbox in psychiatry.
My brain's going, but my body says rest, and my brain said, "No, I ain't got time for that. I want to keep thinking. I want to keep." And see, here's the thing: sometimes you built such a stronghold or a habit. You got to attack it. You got to start being conscious, aware of it, and change. Look, we say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
I've been working on it. I've been doing a lot of this stuff is starting to plan ahead. And I noticed I wake up in the middle of the night 2 times to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, okay, my new goal part is to get my fluids in by 6, 7 p.m. Unless I really already have something cold to drink or whatever, because it wakes you up.
Yeah.
So it gives you a couple hours to get that liquid out of my body before I actually go to sleep at 9 o'clock.
So that's why when I wake up, I have to. I got to wake up. What's the first thing I do? Get me a cup of coffee. All that's doing is masking what the real issue is going on. It's not enough rest. Not enough sleep. Not enough rest. Well, that too. I like coffee, but what I'm saying is that I'm surviving. I'll get woke up, instead of waking up going, yes, I'm ready to tackle the day, like I used to be when I was younger and healthier. Number 3 says, break your bad habits. Easier said than done, right? But it's doable. Power down an hour before bed by turning off your tech and putting an end to revenge bedtime procrastination. Just shut it down.
2 hours.
Yeah, okay, 2 hours. Whatever's going to work for you, you got to figure out. These are just suggestions and things you can do. It may mean you have to shut it down 2 hours before. Why do we feel like we got to have all that? Seriously. So here's the thing. Since rest is so important, the best approach to the physical dilemma is found in spiritual solutions. Our relationship with Yeshua will allow us to rest when we need it if we would just ask Him and ask Him to show us what to do, how to do it. I want the rest that you want me to have. I'm having a problem with it. I'm asking you to help me. And then part of faith is putting it into action. Because He wants all of us to be in rest. You know what? If you're tired and worn out, it affects your spiritual life. You'll have a hard time hearing God. You won't hear God as clearly. You won't be led as easy by His Spirit as He wants to.
And if you're praying, you'll fall asleep. Yes.
You're attacked easier by the enemy. Okay, rest produced from obeying Yeshua. Since the Lord commands us to rest, if there's no other reason to do it, that should be enough for us. He wants us to rest. He commands us to rest. He wants us to sleep. He doesn't want us being tired. When Yeshua got tired, what did He do? He went and spent time with the Father. He got away, got alone to Himself. We want to hear everybody. We want to see everybody on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. We got to see what's going on in the world. We got to turn on the thing. What's happening all around me? Instead of just getting alone and letting your brain rest too, and just chilling with you. That's probably what we should do the last hour or 2 hours of our day. Just turn everything off and just chill. Maybe we should start doing this on Sabbath to practice so that we can learn to do it the other days.
Sundown.
Huh?
Sundown.
Yes.
Shut it down at sundown.
Because we walk by faith, not by sight. Rest produced from the Lord's leading. The Lord knows how much we can bear and when we should rest. That's why we need to ask Him. Ask Him. Maybe we should ask Him what our schedule should be instead of doing our own schedule. Maybe we should ask Him if He wants us to do this or that instead of just doing this or that because it sounds good. It's hard in the world that we live, and everything fast, fast, fast. Go, 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 go. Move, 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 move. And we've got our brains conditioned certain ways. Remember, we need to learn to have the mind of Christ. Have a renewed mind, not being so much like the world, being transformed and changed. But it's not easy. That's why we need each other, so we can help each other out. Well, my mouth ain't working, so
It needs rest.
it needs rest. It does. It needs batteries.
8 hours.
James 1:6 says, "Let him ask in faith without doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind." So this is telling us, this is probably people who are tired and weary. People who don't really know what the Lord wants. So they go here, they go there, they're so caught up in the world and all that's going on because they don't spend enough time with the Lord. So they're unstable in all their ways. They don't really know what's going on. Look, here's the number one answer to every issue in the world. Yeshua. It all starts at every single problem we have begins with our relationship with Yeshua. And wherever we're having problems at, we probably have a lack of Yeshua in that issue. Not that we are going to have issues to deal with. And if you do have some issues, I have some tissues here. Sometimes we got to deal with things because God's allowing us to go through it because He's trying to strengthen us. Sometimes we just do go through stuff because we do dumb things. And maybe we were tired, and that's why we did the dumb thing.
I caused my own problems.
Huh?
I caused my own problems.
Yeah, could be.
The Lord bails me out.
Yeah. Rest produced from the Lord's sovereignty. Okay. Nothing makes choosing to rest easier than knowing that God is in control. He's in control. We can be liberated from worry, from stress, from anxiety, because we trust that God's going to work everything out for our good. Or do we? When we trust God, and we know He's got our best, we don't have to feel obligated to handle every little situation that goes on. Still, we're able to rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him, like Psalms 37:7 says. Sometimes the best way to rest is just let go and let God. Casting all of our cares upon Him because He cares for us. So, if we know God is sovereign and He is in control of everything, shouldn't we be able to head home on time so that we can get our rest, knowing that He'll take care of the work tomorrow? He'll make a way of it getting done. He'll figure it out. I think we don't think about it enough. We don't put our mind, our attention to it. Maybe we'll start declining some overtime. knowing that He's going to provide for our needs. We don't need that extra money if it's going to interfere with our sleep. And we know that sleep should be important. Again, these are just suggestions, but we got to do something different. Money's not more important than getting our rest, I can tell you that. Our health is more important than money. Your health will make you a whole lot happier than money will. I promise you. Go on vacation. Take times of leisure. Lie down at night and sleep soundly. If you have to, get you some of those things to go over your eyes and something in your ears to put music or something and get away from everything. Do something. If you snore, don't listen to yourself. That always reminds me, because Mary one time, I'm laying wide awake in bed, not sleeping. And I do snore. But Mary was snoring. And she rolls over and hits me. He goes, "Quit snoring, you're waking me up." And I go, "Mary, that was you. I've been awake. You snored and woke yourself up." She still don't believe me. But I promise you it was her. I was awake.
Just like the chicken.
Yeah, just like the chicken. Okay, rest in the Bible requires balance. We should embrace it because we need it, and it's what God commands us to do, to rest. And we should accept help from other people because we can't do everything ourselves. That might help us get rest too. Our identity is not built in what we are doing in ourselves. Our identity is on our relationship with Messiah. That's what matters. And then the work that He does through us, and us partner with Him. But we need physical rest, and we need spiritual rest. And I think we should help each other out. So, let's do something that it said in the, we can turn the camera off. Let's do something that it said in that video about just taking a little walk in nature. So I want y'all to follow me.
Candace said that too.
Yeah, Candace said it. So everybody just get up and follow me. There you